The USS Valor's Naval Officers' Lounge was awash in the muted gleam of polished brass and the subtle scent of aged mahogany. The room hummed with the low murmur of high-ranking officers, their crisp uniforms nearly indistinguishable beneath the flicker of tactical holograms projecting mission data at the center table. Admiral Grant stood near the helm, his broad frame commanding immediate attention, eyes sharp beneath furrowed brows. Across from him, Lieutenant Commander Morgan, freshly assigned as the ship's intelligence officer, maintained a composed posture, her dark eyes steady despite the evident skepticism radiating from the Admiral. The briefing had begun moments earlier, the room filled with the soft clinks of coffee cups and the subtle rustle of maps being adjusted. Admiral Grant's voice cut through the ambient noise with an edge that immediately drew the room's full attention. "Lieutenant Commander Morgan," he began, his tone laced with a hint of condescension that belied his rank, "your recent arrival has not gone unnoticed. However, the upcoming covert operation is not a venture for unproven officers. Intelligence demands precision and experience. I question whether you possess the necessary field expertise." Morgan's gaze remained unwavering, her lips pressed into a faint line that suggested neither offense nor eagerness to argue. Around the table, other officers shifted uncomfortably, exchanging subtle glances as if weighing the Admiral's words against the newcomer's calm demeanor. The tension was palpable, a silent contest unfolding beneath the surface of military decorum. Admiral Grant continued, "This mission will require more than theoretical knowledge. It demands leadership under fire, quick decision-making, and the ability to adapt in hostile environments. Your record, while impressive on paper, lacks the boots-on-the-ground experience that this team needs." His eyes scanned the assembled officers, inviting agreement. A few nodded quietly, their hesitation revealing a reluctance to openly challenge the Admiral but a shared doubt nonetheless. Morgan's reply was measured, each word deliberate yet unassuming. "Admiral, I appreciate your concerns. My background includes extensive operational planning and intelligence synthesis in active theaters, though much of it remains classified. I am prepared to demonstrate my capability and earn the trust of this team." Her voice carried a steady confidence that silenced the murmurs briefly, drawing a subtle shift in the room's atmosphere. The Admiral's expression tightened, a flicker of something unreadable passing through his eyes. "I hope that proves true, Lieutenant Commander. The success of this operation, and lives, depend on it." He gestured to the hologram, which zoomed in on a rugged, mountainous region marked as the mission's focus. "We have intelligence indicating a high-value target concealed within this area. Extraction and data retrieval must be swift and precise. Failure is not an option." As the briefing progressed, Morgan absorbed every detail, her mind already weaving tactical possibilities and contingencies. Her presence was quiet but resolute, an unspoken challenge to the doubts that lingered in the room. Around her, the other officers began to observe more closely, some intrigued by her composed confidence, others still guarded. Lieutenant Harris, a seasoned SEAL officer seated nearby, leaned over to a fellow team member, whispering, "She's new to field ops, but there's something about her, calm under pressure, like she's been here before." His words were cautious, a tentative acknowledgement that Morgan's reputation might extend beyond official records. Morgan caught the glance but did not respond, focusing instead on the mission parameters displayed before her. The holograms shifted to reveal satellite imagery and intercepted communications, data streams layered with encrypted signals waiting to be unpacked. Her fingers traced the contours of the target zone, absorbing the complexity with practiced ease. Admiral Grant watched her closely, the skepticism in his gaze softening just enough to betray a grudging respect. "We will conduct a final review tomorrow morning. Until then, I expect you to familiarize yourself thoroughly with every aspect of this operation. The team's lives could hinge on your decisions." His tone was firm, yet beneath it lay the unspoken challenge, a test waiting to unfold. As the officers began to disperse, Morgan remained seated a moment longer, her eyes lingering on the holographic projection. The weight of the mission pressed upon her, but beneath it was a wellspring of readiness honed by years of unpublicized service. The lounge emptied gradually, the clatter of boots fading into the metallic hum of the ship's engines. Lieutenant Commander Morgan rose, smoothing the creases of her uniform. As she stepped into the corridor, a voice called softly from behind. "Morgan." She turned to see Chief Petty Officer Daniels, a grizzled veteran with a reputation for unerring judgment. His gaze was sharp, a mix of curiosity and cautious approval. "Admiral Grant has high expectations," Daniels said, falling into step beside her. "Most here doubt your experience." You'll have to prove yourself quickly. Morgan nodded, her expression unreadable. I intend to. This mission is critical, and I won't let the team down. Daniel studied her for a moment, then offered a rare, thin smile. Good. We can use someone who understands the weight of that responsibility. Just remember, actions speak louder than words. She acknowledged the advice with a slight incline of her head before continuing down the passageway. The USS Valor's metallic corridors stretched ahead, a labyrinth of duty and danger that awaited her command. The lounge, once filled with doubt and quiet tension, now held the memory of a challenge issued and a resolve quietly accepted. In the days to come, the officers would watch closely as Lieutenant Commander Morgan stepped into the role that could define not only the operation's success but the trust of an elite team wary of untested leadership. The stage was set, the pieces in motion, and beneath the calm surface, the current of anticipation ran deep. For Morgan, this was more than a mission, it was the moment to silence doubts and prove that beneath the quiet intensity lay a mind sharpened by experience, a strategist ready to navigate the shadows of war with precision and unyielding resolve. The USS Valor had welcomed many officers, but few with the fire that Morgan carried beneath her composed exterior. As the ship sailed steadily toward the mission zone, the officers' lounge stood empty, its polished surfaces reflecting the dim glow of the ship's interior lights, a silent witness to the beginning of a story that would test loyalty, skill, and the very limits of command. The morning light filtered through the narrow portholes of the USS Valor's briefing room, casting long, angular shadows across the polished floor. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension as officers settled into their seats, the low hum of anticipation buzzing beneath the surface. Admiral Grant stood at the head of the room, his posture rigid, eyes scanning the faces before him. Lieutenant Commander Morgan took her place beside the holographic display, her expression calm but alert, ready to face the scrutiny that awaited her. Admiral Grant wasted no time. Lieutenant Commander Morgan has now been with us for several days, he began, voice carrying the weight of command. I have observed her briefings and her interactions with the team. While her intelligence assessments are thorough, I remain concerned about her practical field experience. His words landed like a challenge, a gauntlet thrown before the assembled officers. Morgan met his gaze steadily. Admiral, the complexities of this mission demand not only knowledge but adaptability. I am confident my skills, both in intelligence and operational command, will meet those demands. Her tone was measured, unwavering, yet devoid of arrogance, a quiet confidence that seemed to ripple through the room. The officers exchanged subtle glances. Some nodded in cautious agreement, others appeared skeptical, their expressions guarded. Lieutenant Harris, seated near the back, shifted in his chair, his eyes narrowing slightly as he studied Morgan. His whispered comment to a nearby comrade barely escaped notice, she's composed, but does she have the grit for the field? That's the question. Morgan's presence was a study in contrasts. To the casual observer, she might seem reserved, almost detached. But beneath that composed exterior was a steel core forged by years of covert operations and intelligence work, much of it classified. Still, in this room filled with seasoned SEALs and officers hardened by combat, her reputation was untested, her experience a subject of quiet debate. As the briefing progressed, Admiral Grant pressed further. Leadership in the field is unforgiving. Decisions must be made in split seconds, often with incomplete information. Lieutenant Commander, how do you propose to bridge the gap between intelligence gathering and on-the-ground command? Morgan stepped forward, activating the holographic interface. A 3D map of the mission area materialized between them, terrain contours and key points highlighted in sharp detail. By integrating real-time intelligence with dynamic tactical adjustments, she explained. The team's success depends on seamless communication and flexibility. I plan to lead by example, coordinating closely with SEAL teams to adapt strategies as situations evolve. Her words drew a few nods, the officers beginning to see a strategic mind at work. Yet skepticism lingered. Admiral Grant's expression remained unreadable, his doubts not fully assuaged. A murmur rose from the back of the room as Chief Petty Officer Daniels, the grizzled veteran who had spoken with Morgan days before, leaned forward. I've observed Lieutenant Commander Morgan during simulations, he said, voice gravelly but respectful. Her approach is unconventional, but effective. She anticipates moves others might miss. The room's focus shifted subtly. Daniel's endorsement carried weight, his experience commanded respect. Still, the unspoken question hung in the air, Could Morgan translate that strategic acumen into battlefield leadership? Morgan sensed the scrutiny and chose to address it head-on. "I am aware that my operational record is not as visible as some," she said, voice steady. "Much of my work has been in intelligence and covert missions classified at the highest levels. I assure you, the skills required for those roles are directly applicable here. I am prepared to demonstrate that in the field." Her acknowledgement seemed to quell some doubts, but others remained, palpable in the tightness of lips and the subtle tightening of jaw muscles. Lieutenant Harris finally broke the silence. "Respectfully, Lieutenant Commander, theory and planning are one thing. The field is another. Can you handle the chaos of combat, the unpredictability of the enemy?" Morgan regarded him calmly, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing at the corner of her mouth. "Handling chaos requires discipline and clarity of purpose. I have operated in environments where the margin for error is non-existent. I welcome the opportunity to prove that here." The room settled into a heavy quiet, the officers digesting her words. Moments later, Admiral Grant's voice cut through the stillness. "Very well. We will arrange a series of exercises to assess your readiness. The team needs to trust its leader implicitly." Morgan inclined her head. "Understood, Admiral. I will earn that trust." As the briefing concluded, the officers began to file out, conversations hushed but charged with speculation. Morgan remained behind for a moment, reviewing the tactical data on the hologram. Her mind was already mapping scenarios, anticipating challenges that lay ahead. Outside the briefing room, Chief Petty Officer Daniels approached her again, his gaze sharp but approving. "You held your own today. Not many newcomers can command a room like that." Morgan allowed herself a brief nod. "Thank you. I know earning their trust won't be easy." Daniels chuckled softly. "Trust is built on actions, not words. You've got the right attitude. Just don't let them see you sweat." She smiled faintly, the tension easing just a little. "I won't." In the days following, Morgan immersed herself in preparation, engaging with SEAL teams during tactical drills, observing their methods, and contributing insights that began to shift perceptions. Her calm demeanor and keen analysis slowly chipped away at the initial doubts, replacing uncertainty with cautious respect. Lieutenant Harris, once vocal in his skepticism, found himself observing her with growing interest. During a particularly grueling exercise simulating infiltration and extraction, Morgan's quick decisions and unexpected tactical suggestions saved the team valuable time and avoided simulated casualties. Afterward, Harris approached her quietly. "You're not just book smart. You think on your feet. That's what counts out there." Morgan met his gaze evenly. "I've learned that every advantage matters. The mission and the team depend on it." Word of her performance began to circulate through the ranks. The whispered doubts softened, replaced by a grudging acknowledgement that Morgan's presence might indeed be an asset rather than a liability. Yet, beneath the surface, Morgan remained focused on the challenges ahead. The upcoming operation was fraught with danger, and she knew that respect earned in drills was only the first step. The true test would come when the team faced real threats in hostile territory. Admiral Grant observed these developments with a measured eye. Though his reservations lingered, he could not deny the subtle shift in team dynamics or Morgan's growing influence. A quiet conversation between the two late one evening revealed a grudging acknowledgement. "You've exceeded expectations in preparation," he admitted. "But the field is an unforgiving judge." Morgan's reply was steady, unflinching. "I am ready to meet that judgment." As the USS Valor pressed onward toward the mission's staging area, the officers' lounge once again filled with hushed discussions, not of doubts, but of cautious optimism. Lieutenant Commander Morgan had not yet proven herself fully, but the foundation was laid. The team's trust was no longer a distant hope but a tangible possibility, forged through quiet resilience and growing competence. The tension that had marked her arrival evolved into a subtle undercurrent of respect, an acknowledgement that beneath the calm exterior stood a leader capable of adapting, learning, and rising to the demands of the mission ahead. The journey was far from over, but the first steps had been taken, and the eyes of the USS Valor's crew now watched with anticipation rather than skepticism. The USS Valor's training bay buzzed with the sharp clang of simulated gunfire and the rhythmic thud of boots against metal flooring. The air was thick with the scent of sweat and determination, the atmosphere charged as the SEAL team prepared for a tactical exercise designed to test their cohesion and adaptability. Lieutenant Commander Morgan stood at the edge of the training area, arms crossed, eyes keenly observing the movements of the seasoned operators. The room was filled with veterans whose war-hardened faces betrayed little emotion, but beneath their measured expressions, an undercurrent of curiosity and quiet skepticism lingered about the newcomer leading their intelligence efforts. Admiral Grant's earlier doubts still echoed in the room as the exercise commenced. The scenario was complex, a simulated hostage extraction deep within enemy territory, requiring stealth, precision, and seamless coordination. The SEALs moved with practiced efficiency, their whispered commands and fluid motions a testament to years of experience. Morgan, though not formally part of the direct assault team, was tasked with providing real-time intelligence updates and guiding tactical decisions through a live command interface. As the exercise unfolded, a sudden complication was introduced, unforeseen enemy patrols shifted routes, and simulated communications were jammed without warning. The team's original plan faltered under pressure. The seasoned operators exchanged tense glances, ready to fall back into routine procedures, but Morgan's voice cut through the comms with unexpected clarity and decisiveness. "Adjust your approach vector to grid 7 Delta, she directed, her tone calm yet authoritative. "Enemy patrols are converging on your initial path. I'm marking an alternate route through the southern ridge. It offers better cover and reduces exposure time." Her rapid analysis and swift adaptation caught the team off guard. Lieutenant Harris hesitated, the weight of command momentarily shifting. "Are you sure that's viable? We've never trained that route." Morgan responded without hesitation. "I've cross-referenced terrain data with recent enemy movement patterns. It's the optimal path given the new intel. Trust the data." The SEALs altered their course, moving with renewed purpose. The change in strategy paid off, the simulated extraction proceeded without casualties, the hostage secured and evacuated within the exercise's time constraints. The room erupted in quiet murmurs of approval, the initial tension replaced by a cautious respect for Morgan's unconventional input. Chief Petty Officer Daniels approached her as the team regrouped, his seasoned eyes reflecting a mix of surprise and admiration. "I didn't expect you to pull that off," he said, voice low but sincere. "Your situational awareness, something about it's different. You see the battlefield in a way most don't." Morgan met his gaze steadily. "I've learned that success depends on anticipating variables before they become obstacles. It's about reading patterns, not just reacting." Word of her performance spread quickly through the ranks. Crew members who had doubted her began to whisper her call sign, Shadow Hawk, a nod to her ability to remain unseen yet deadly precise in her tactical guidance. The moniker carried weight, a subtle shift in perception that Morgan was more than an intelligence officer, she was becoming a respected strategist in their eyes. During the debrief, Admiral Grant's stern visage softened imperceptibly. "Lieutenant Commander Morgan," he remarked, "your adjustments during the exercise were instrumental. You've demonstrated an ability to process complex data under pressure and provide actionable directives. This is the kind of leadership we need in the field." Morgan inclined her head in acknowledgement. "Thank you, Admiral. I will continue to refine our strategies to ensure mission success." The training continued over the following days, each exercise more demanding than the last. Morgan's unconventional tactics challenged the team's standard operating procedures, pushing them to adapt and evolve. Her quick thinking and the precision of her commands fostered a growing trust that began to dissolve lingering doubts. One evening, as the ship settled into a rare moment of calm, Morgan found herself in the officers' lounge. The usual hum of conversation was subdued, the crew unwinding after the day's grueling drills. Lieutenant Harris approached her cautiously, a newfound respect evident in his posture. "You really surprised me today," he admitted. "You think fast, adapt faster. It's not something we see often around here." Morgan offered a faint smile. "Adaptability is survival. I've learned that in ways most haven't." Harris nodded, lingering as if weighing his next words. "What's your story, Shadow Hawk? You don't talk much about your past." She paused, considering the question. "There's little to share that hasn't been classified. Let's just say I've had to prove myself in environments where failure wasn't an option." The conversation was interrupted by a call from Chief Petty Officer Daniels, summoning them to an impromptu meeting. As they rose, the officers exchanged glances that spoke of a shifting dynamic. Morgan was no longer the outsider but a vital part of the team's core. In the days that followed, Morgan's reputation solidified. Her call sign echoed quietly among the crew, a symbol of her growing influence and the respect she commanded. The tactical exercises became proving grounds where her insight repeatedly tipped the balance in favor of success. Yet beneath the surface of these victories lay an unspoken tension. Morgan knew that true acceptance hinged not on simulations but on real combat. The coming operation would be the ultimate test, one where theory met reality in the unforgiving crucible of war. Admiral Grant observed these developments with a measured eye, his skepticism tempered by undeniable results. A private conversation between the two revealed a grudging acknowledgement of her evolving role. "You've earned the team's attention," he said quietly. "But remember, the field doesn't forgive mistakes." Morgan's reply was steady, unwavering. "I'm prepared for what lies ahead." As the USS Valor pressed toward its mission zone, the crew's confidence in their new intelligence officer grew. The name Shadow Hawk was no longer whispered with doubt but spoken with a hint of admiration, a call sign born not from legend, but from the quiet, precise excellence of a leader who had begun to transcend expectations. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows through the USS Valor's command center, where the hum of operational systems punctuated the low murmur of focused voices. Lieutenant Commander Morgan stood near a bank of holographic displays, her posture relaxed but alert as she analyzed incoming intelligence streams. The room was filled with seasoned SEAL veterans and intelligence officers, their eyes flickering between data feeds and Morgan's steady presence. The subtle shift in the team's dynamic was palpable, the earlier skepticism giving way to a cautious but growing respect. Chief Petty Officer Daniels approached, his grizzled features softened by a rare smile. "Morgan," he began, lowering his voice to a serious whisper, "you've been impressing the team during exercises, but now it's time to dig deeper. We need your insight on the enemy's tactics. What aren't we seeing?" Morgan met his gaze steadily. "The intel we have is fragmented, but patterns emerge when you look beyond the obvious. Their movements aren't random, they're strategic, designed to lure us into predictable responses." She tapped a display, highlighting recent enemy patrol routes and supply caches. "They've adapted since our last engagement, using decoys and false communications to mask their true objectives." Daniels nodded thoughtfully. "We've been chasing shadows. What's your take on their endgame?" Morgan's eyes narrowed as she sifted through intercepted chatter and satellite imagery. "They're consolidating forces in a secondary location, an area we've overlooked because it lacks traditional strategic value. But it's a hub for their supply lines and command communications. Taking it out would disrupt their operations significantly." Her analysis sparked a ripple of surprise among the veterans. Lieutenant Harris leaned in, intrigued. "That would change our entire approach. How confident are you in this assessment?" "High," Morgan replied without hesitation. "I've cross-referenced multiple sources and factored in recent tactical shifts. It's a calculated risk, but one with potential to cripple their command structure." Admiral Grant entered the room, his presence commanding immediate attention. He listened intently as Morgan outlined her intelligence insights, the flicker of doubt in his eyes replaced by a measured consideration. "You're suggesting we pivot our strategy based on your analysis?" Morgan met his gaze directly. "Yes, sir. The enemy expects us to hit the primary target. Striking their secondary hub could catch them off guard." Grant paced slowly, weighing the implications. "This would require revising operational plans and reallocating resources." "It's a gamble. Every mission carries risk," Morgan replied evenly. "But calculated risk is necessary when the intelligence supports it." The room fell into contemplative silence before Daniel spoke again. "Morgan's right. If we can disrupt their command and supply lines, it could shorten the conflict and save lives." Admiral Grant finally nodded, the tension easing from his posture. "Very well. Prepare a revised mission plan incorporating these findings. Lieutenant Commander, I expect you to work closely with the SEAL teams to integrate this intelligence into actionable tactics." Morgan inclined her head. "Understood, Admiral. I'll coordinate immediately." As the team dispersed to begin planning, Morgan remained by the holographic displays, her mind racing through contingencies and tactical adjustments. The weight of responsibility pressed upon her, but beneath it was a steely resolve honed by years of classified missions and covert operations. She knew that this shift in strategy could redefine the mission's success and her standing among the team. Later, in a private meeting with Chief Daniels, Morgan shared deeper insights. Their secondary hub isn't just logistics, it's a communication nexus. Disabling it would blind their field units. Daniels nodded, impressed. You've got a keen eye for the bigger picture. Most wouldn't see past the obvious. Morgan's expression softened briefly. It's about understanding the enemy's mindset. Anticipating their moves before they make them. The conversation was interrupted by a call from Admiral Grant, summoning them to the conference room. As they entered, the room buzzed with heightened energy. The revised mission plan was ready for final review. Admiral Grant addressed the assembled officers. Lieutenant Commander Morgan's analysis has prompted a strategic pivot. We will strike the secondary hub first, aiming to disrupt enemy communications and supply lines. This requires precision and coordination. Morgan stepped forward, outlining her plan with clarity and confidence. She detailed how intelligence would guide the SEAL teams through less predictable routes, leveraging terrain and timing to minimize exposure. Her tactical suggestions reflected a deep understanding of both the enemy and her own team's capabilities. Questions arose, challenges posed by experienced operators, but Morgan met each with calm, informed responses. Her ability to anticipate concerns and provide solutions earned nods of approval, even from the most skeptical. As the session concluded, Admiral Grant turned to Morgan with a rare note of praise. Your intelligence insights have reshaped our approach. I acknowledge the value of your expertise and look forward to seeing this plan in action. Morgan met his gaze, a subtle smile hinting at the satisfaction of hard-won respect. Thank you, Admiral. I'm committed to the mission's success. The officers filtered out, energized by the revised strategy and the promise it held. In the quiet aftermath, Morgan lingered, reviewing the final details and coordinating with her team. The trust she had earned was fragile but growing, built on demonstrated competence and unwavering resolve. As the USS Valor sailed steadily toward the mission zone, the command center became a hive of focused preparation. Morgan's role had evolved from outsider to pivotal strategist, her insights shaping the course of operations and the lives of those who would carry them out. Chief Petty Officer Daniels later remarked to a colleague, "Morgan's not just intelligence, weapons. She's a game changer." And beneath the calm exterior of Lieutenant Commander Morgan, the call sign Shadow Hawk grew heavier with meaning, a symbol of a leader whose vision and expertise were beginning to turn the tide. The USS Valor's war room was bathed in the cold glow of multiple holographic displays, each flickering with streams of encrypted data and satellite imagery. Lieutenant Commander Morgan stood at the center, her fingers deftly manipulating the projections as fragments of the enemy's operations unfolded before the assembled officers. The room was charged with a focused energy, the earlier tensions replaced by a collective drive to decipher the puzzle pieces of a covert battlefield. Morgan's eyes scanned intercepted communications and logistical reports, each revealing subtle shifts in enemy patterns. She spoke quietly but with authority, weaving the intelligence into a coherent narrative. Their supply routes have been rerouted through lesser-known mountain passes, she explained, likely to avoid our surveillance. This suggests they're aware of increased reconnaissance and adapting accordingly. The officers leaned in, piecing together the implications. Lieutenant Harris, now a cautious ally, nodded thoughtfully. That complicates direct engagement but opens opportunities for ambushes along those routes. Morgan's gaze sharpened. Exactly. But there's more. Recent chatter indicates a buildup of forces near a remote outpost, one we initially overlooked due to its apparent insignificance. It's becoming clear this location serves as a forward staging area for operations deeper into enemy territory. A murmur rippled through the room, the officers exchanging glances that spoke of surprise and growing concern. Morgan continued, "This outpost's strategic value lies not in its size, but in its role as a communication relay and supply hub. Disrupting it would deal a significant blow to their operational capabilities." Admiral Grant, seated at the far end of the table, steepled his fingers and regarded Morgan with a mixture of curiosity and grudging respect. "You speak as though you've encountered similar tactics before," he remarked. "What's your experience with such adaptive enemy behavior?" Morgan's expression remained composed, but a flicker of something deeper crossed her eyes. "I've observed and countered insurgent tactics that rely heavily on mobility and deception. Their effectiveness depends on exploiting predictable enemy responses. Our challenge is to remain unpredictable." Her words resonated with the team, the room's atmosphere shifting from cautious analysis to strategic determination. Morgan's insights went beyond raw data, they revealed a nuanced understanding of guerrilla warfare and psychological operations. Chief Petty Officer Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady. "Lieutenant Commander, your perspective is invaluable. How do you propose we leverage this intelligence to disrupt their operations without exposing our teams to undue risk?" Morgan responded swiftly, "We need to recalibrate our approach. Instead of conventional assaults, I recommend deploying small, highly mobile units equipped with real-time intel to conduct targeted strikes on supply convoys and relay stations. These teams would operate under the cover of darkness, utilizing terrain familiarity and electronic warfare to maintain the element of surprise." The room absorbed her proposal, the implications both daring and calculated. Lieutenant Harris voiced the unspoken concern. "That puts a lot of pressure on our operators. Are we confident in their readiness for such a shift?" Morgan met his gaze firmly. "Training has been rigorous, and the teams have adapted well to unconventional tactics. Their resilience is proven. This approach maximizes their strengths while minimizing exposure to large-scale engagements." Admiral Grant nodded slowly, the wheels turning in his mind. "It will require precise coordination and absolute trust in your intelligence. The margin for error is slim." Morgan's reply was unwavering. "I understand the stakes, Admiral. My team and I will ensure the intel is actionable and timely. We will support the operators every step of the way." Over the next days, Morgan subtly introduced elements of her past experience into training sessions and planning discussions, weaving anecdotes and tactical lessons that hinted at a deeper, classified history. Her references to unconventional warfare, electronic countermeasures, and psychological operations sparked curiosity among the crew, many piecing together fragments of her background from the veiled clues. Lieutenant Harris, once a skeptic, found himself drawn into these conversations, seeking insights and sharing his own battlefield experiences. "You've got a knack for seeing the unseen," he remarked during a late-night strategy session. "It's clear you've been through the crucible more than once." Morgan offered a small, knowing smile. "Experience teaches you to expect the unexpected. But there's always more to learn." Chief Petty Officer Daniels observed these exchanges from a distance, his respect for Morgan deepening. In a quiet moment, he confided to a colleague, "She carries the weight of missions none of us will ever know. Yet she holds herself with the discipline of a warrior and the insight of a strategist." As the USS Valor edged closer to the operational zone, the crew's curiosity about Morgan's past grew alongside their trust in her leadership. The whispered call sign Shadow Hawk was no longer just a symbol of her tactical prowess, it became a legend in the making, a name spoken with a mix of reverence and anticipation. Morgan herself remained focused on the mission ahead, aware that the coming days would demand every ounce of her expertise and resolve. The preparations were meticulous, the intelligence detailed, but she knew the true test would come when theory collided with the chaos of combat. In the quiet moments before the next briefing, Morgan reviewed the latest data streams, her mind tracing enemy movements and tactical possibilities. The room outside echoed with the routines of a crew preparing for war, but within her, a storm of determination burned bright. The story of Lieutenant Commander Morgan was unfolding, not just as a new intelligence officer aboard the USS Valor, but as a formidable force whose past, though shrouded in secrecy, was beginning to shape the future of the mission and those who would follow her into the unknown. The jagged peaks of the mountainous region loomed beneath the USS Valor's hovering reconnaissance drone, its sensors feeding real-time imagery to Lieutenant Commander Morgan's station. The tension in the command center was palpable as the team prepared for the critical reconnaissance mission that would test not only the intelligence gathered but Morgan's leadership in the field. The holographic map displayed the treacherous terrain ahead, dotted with enemy outposts and patrol routes, every detail painstakingly analyzed. Morgan's voice cut through the low murmur of the room, steady and commanding. "This is the path we'll take, stealth and precision are paramount. The objective is to recon the high-value target's location and neutralize any immediate threats without alerting enemy reinforcements." Her eyes scanned the data feeds, confirming the coordinates and adjusting tactical overlays. The SEAL team, veteran operators all, listened intently. Their usual confident banter was subdued, a reflection of the gravity of the mission and the quiet respect growing for Morgan's command. Lieutenant Harris, once skeptical, now stood at attention, his expression focused. As the team deployed from the USS Valor via stealth insertion, Morgan coordinated from the command center, guiding them through the shifting shadows of the rugged landscape. The radio remained a lifeline, her calm directives weaving through the static and whispers of the mountainous wind. "Move to Grid 6 Alpha," Morgan instructed. Maintain radio silence unless absolutely necessary. Visual confirmation on enemy patrol patterns is critical. The team advanced with practiced stealth, shadows among shadows, navigating narrow passes and rocky outcrops. Morgan's intelligence proved invaluable. Her predictions of patrol shifts and enemy blind spots allowed the team to avoid detection time and again. Suddenly, a scout team's whispered report crackled through the comms: target sighted, multiple guards, heavy armament. No signs of reinforcements yet. Morgan responded immediately. Hold position. Assess entry points. Prioritize silent neutralization. Extraction point remains grid 7 Delta. The operators' voices were low, tension thick but controlled. One by one, the SEALs executed swift, silent takedowns, their movements choreographed like a deadly dance. Morgan's eyes never left the live feed, issuing adjustments as new intel arrived. 2 hostiles down left flank. Shift approach to northeast ridge, she advised. Thermal imaging shows minimal heat signatures beyond immediate perimeter. The team adapted seamlessly, the combination of Morgan's tactical guidance and their combat expertise creating a fluid operation that minimized risk. Then, the unexpected, a distant explosion reverberated through the valley, followed by hurried enemy chatter intercepted on comms. Enemy reinforcements en route, Morgan warned, voice steady but urgent. You have a narrow window. Complete objectives and exfiltrate immediately. The operators accelerated their efforts, securing critical documents and disabling communication arrays. Morgan coordinated extraction flawlessly, directing the team through a less expected route that avoided enemy response units now converging on their original path. As the last operator crossed the extraction point, Morgan's voice was calm but resolute. Extraction confirmed. Mission success. Prepare for immediate debrief. Back aboard the USS Valor, the team gathered in the operations room, the adrenaline of the mission still present but tempered by relief and accomplishment. Admiral Grant, standing at the forefront, regarded Morgan with a newfound respect that softened his usually stern demeanor. Lieutenant Commander Morgan, he began, voice carrying a rare note of praise, your leadership and tactical genius during that mission have been nothing short of exceptional. The precision and restraint you demonstrated minimized casualties and maximized strategic gain. Morgan inclined her head, the weight of the moment settling over her. Thank you, Admiral. The team executed flawlessly. Their discipline and trust made the difference. Lieutenant Harris stepped forward, a hint of admiration in his voice. I underestimated you, Morgan. Your command under pressure was impressive. You've earned our trust. Morgan met his gaze steadily, a faint smile acknowledging the hard-won respect. Trust is earned one mission at a time. The debrief continued, each member sharing observations and insights, the atmosphere shifting from tension to camaraderie. The successful reconnaissance and targeted neutralization had provided crucial intelligence for the next phase of the operation. Later, as the USS Valor sailed into the night, Morgan reflected on the mission's outcome. The operation had proven her capability not only in planning but in leadership under fire. The validation from Admiral Grant and her team was a milestone, yet she knew the challenges ahead would demand even greater resolve. In the quiet moments before rest, a secure channel pinged on her console. The message was brief but loaded with significance. Excellent work. Command acknowledges your leadership. Prepare for increased responsibilities. Morgan leaned back, the weight of the mission momentarily lifted but the path ahead clear. The field had judged her, and she had met its unforgiving standards. The shadows of doubt that had once clouded her arrival aboard the USS Valor had begun to dissipate, replaced by the steady light of earned respect. The story was far from over, but in this moment, Lieutenant Commander Morgan stood firmly as a leader, strategist, and warrior ready to face the trials that lay beyond the horizon. The USS Valor's operations room was alive with the quiet intensity of a team debriefing after a successful mission. The low hum of machines and the soft murmur of officers exchanging reports filled the space as Lieutenant Commander Morgan stood near the central holographic display, reviewing data alongside Chief Petty Officer Daniels and Lieutenant Harris. The atmosphere was a blend of relief and focus. The mission had been a success, but the stakes remained high. Admiral Grant entered the room, his authoritative presence commanding immediate attention. His usual stern countenance bore a subtle shift, a tempered respect that had been earned through Morgan's recent actions. He scanned the assembled faces before fixing his gaze on Morgan. Lieutenant Commander, he began, voice steady but carrying the weight of genuine acknowledgement, the reconnaissance mission you led has provided invaluable intelligence. Your tactical leadership minimized risk and secured critical objectives. I commend you for your performance. Morgan inclined her head respectfully. Thank you, Admiral. The team's discipline and coordination were key to the operation's success. Admiral Grant nodded. It is clear you have earned the trust of your team and the confidence of command. As a result, I am offering you command of the next operation. This mission will be pivotal in disrupting enemy activities and requires decisive leadership. A ripple of attention passed through the room. Morgan's expression remained composed, but beneath the surface was a surge of determination. Leading a full operation was a significant step, a chance to solidify her role not just as an intelligence officer but as a commanding force. I accept, Admiral, she replied firmly. I will prepare the team and devise a comprehensive plan to ensure mission success. The Admiral's gaze lingered briefly before he nodded in approval. Very well. You will have full access to all resources necessary. Coordinate closely with all departments. The entire ship will support your command. As the Admiral departed, Chief Daniels turned to Morgan, a hint of pride in his voice. You've come a long way, Lieutenant Commander. Command suits you. Morgan allowed herself a brief smile. There's still much to prove. Lieutenant Harris stepped forward, a renewed respect in his tone. We're with you, Morgan. Whatever you need, we're ready. Over the following days, Morgan immersed herself in preparation, assembling a specialized team that blended the ship's seasoned SEALs with intelligence operatives. The selection process was meticulous, balancing experience, skills, and the ability to work cohesively under high-pressure conditions. In the briefing room, Morgan outlined the mission objectives with clarity and precision. The operation aimed to infiltrate a heavily fortified enemy compound identified as a key logistical node. Disrupting its function would cripple enemy supply lines and communications. Her plan integrated lessons learned from previous missions, emphasizing stealth, coordination, and the use of cutting-edge technology. She assigned roles with strategic intent, ensuring each team member's strengths were leveraged effectively. During planning sessions, Morgan encouraged open dialogue, fostering an environment where input was valued. Her leadership style blended authority with collaboration, inspiring confidence among the team. Admiral Grant observed these sessions from a distance, his earlier skepticism replaced by a growing respect for Morgan's strategic vision and ability to unify the crew. One evening, as the team reviewed tactical simulations, Lieutenant Harris approached Morgan privately. Your approach has changed how we operate, he admitted. You've earned our trust not just with skill, but with how you lead. Morgan met his gaze steadily. Leadership is about earning respect every day, especially in the face of uncertainty. The days leading up to the operation were marked by intense preparation. Equipment was tested, contingency plans refined, and communications protocols established. Morgan coordinated with the ship's intelligence and support teams to ensure seamless integration. As the USS Valor approached the mission zone, the crew moved with quiet purpose. The weight of responsibility rested heavily on Morgan's shoulders, but she carried it with the calm resolve of a seasoned leader. On the eve of deployment, a final briefing brought the team together. Morgan addressed them directly, her voice steady and inspiring. This mission is critical. It will test our skills, our resolve, and our trust in one another. We move as one unit, with precision, discipline, and determination. I have absolute confidence in each of you. The team responded with nods and murmured affirmations, a unified force ready to face the challenges ahead. As the USS Valor powered toward the operation's starting point, the command center hummed with anticipation. Morgan reviewed final intel, her mind focused on the complexities to come. The mission would demand every ounce of her expertise and leadership. The trust she had earned was now a foundation upon which success would be built. In the stillness before action, Lieutenant Commander Morgan stood poised, not just as an intelligence officer, but as a commanding presence ready to lead her team through the crucible of combat, shaping the course of the operation and the future of the USS Valor's fight. The USS Valor's strategy room buzzed with the focused energy of a crew on the brink of a high-stakes operation. Holographic maps hovered above the central table, glowing with tactical overlays and real-time data streams. Lieutenant Commander Morgan stood at the forefront, her eyes sharp, voice steady as she orchestrated the final planning session. Around her, seasoned SEALs and intelligence operatives leaned in, absorbing every detail, every contingency laid out with precision. Morgan's fingertips danced across the holograms, highlighting key ingress points and enemy patrol patterns. Our approach will be twofold, she explained. Team Alpha will infiltrate from the North Ridge, exploiting the natural cover to bypass the primary security grid. Team Bravo will secure the eastern flank, neutralizing communications and preventing reinforcements. The room responded with nods and murmurs of agreement, the plan reflecting the culmination of exhaustive intelligence gathering and tactical refinement. Morgan's command was clear but collaborative. She welcomed input, encouraging seasoned operators to voice concerns and suggest adjustments. Lieutenant Harris, now a trusted ally, raised a question. What about extraction routes if the primary exit is compromised? Morgan anticipated the concern. Contingency extraction points are mapped along the western ridge and the southern valley. Both routes offer concealment but require rapid coordination to avoid enemy detection. Chief Petty Officer Daniels added, "We'll need to synchronize electronic countermeasures to ensure comms remain secure during exfiltration." Agreed, Morgan replied. Electronic warfare will be critical. We'll deploy jamming devices prior to insertion and maintain signal integrity through encrypted channels. The session delved deeper into specifics, timing, equipment loadouts, emergency protocols. Morgan's strategic vision was comprehensive, yet flexible, allowing the team to adapt dynamically on the ground. As the meeting progressed, Admiral Grant observed from the periphery, his expression inscrutable. When the briefing concluded, he stepped forward. "Lieutenant Commander Morgan, your planning reflects a thorough understanding of both our capabilities and the enemy's vulnerabilities. You have my full support." Morgan acknowledged the Admiral's endorsement with a nod. "Thank you, Admiral. We will execute with precision." In the days leading up to deployment, Morgan worked tirelessly to foster cohesion among the diverse team. She held training sessions blending seasoned SEALs with intelligence specialists, emphasizing communication and trust. The blend of expertise required careful balance, and Morgan's leadership bridged gaps, turning a collection of individuals into a unified force. One evening, as the team gathered for a final rehearsal, Morgan addressed them directly. "This mission will test every skill we possess. It demands coordination, resilience, and unwavering focus. Trust in your training, and in each other." The room responded with a unified murmur of resolve. The weight of the coming operation was heavy, but so was the collective confidence forged through preparation. Behind the scenes, Morgan coordinated logistics, ensuring all equipment, from stealth gear to surveillance drones, was mission-ready. She liaised with the ship's medical and support teams, establishing rapid response protocols. Late nights found Morgan alone in the command center, reviewing intel, adjusting plans, and anticipating enemy countermeasures. The silence was a stark contrast to the storm of responsibility within her mind. Lieutenant Harris found her during one such moment. "You carry a heavy burden," he observed quietly. Morgan looked up, her gaze steady. "Leadership demands it. But it's a burden I'm prepared to bear." As the USS Valor approached the mission zone, the crew moved with quiet purpose. The final countdown commenced, systems were checked, and the team readied themselves for insertion. Morgan took a moment in the dimly lit corridor, steadying her breath. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but her resolve was unshaken. The operation was no longer a plan on a hologram, it was imminent reality. Every detail, every strategy, every ounce of trust built among the team would be tested. Lieutenant Commander Morgan understood that success hinged not only on preparation but on the ability to adapt in the face of unforeseen challenges. As the ship's engines thrummed with purpose, she reaffirmed her commitment to her team, to the mission, and to the relentless pursuit of victory in the shadows where the fate of many would be decided. The night sky above the rugged terrain was a canvas of stars, faint moonlight casting shadows over the jagged ridges where Lieutenant Commander Morgan's team prepared for insertion. The USS Valor hung silently in orbit, a guardian watching over the operation unfolding below. Inside the ship's command center, Morgan's fingers flew across the controls, monitoring the live feed streaming from the reconnaissance drones and the comms channels linking her to the teams now on the ground. "Team Alpha, proceed to ingress point Charlie," Morgan commanded, her voice calm but infused with urgency. "Maintain radio silence unless critical." The operators acknowledged, their movements swift and precise as they slipped through the dense underbrush, shadows among shadows. Morgan's eyes tracked their progress on the holographic map, every heartbeat counted. Team Bravo moved simultaneously, securing the eastern flank as planned, disabling communications and cutting off enemy reinforcements. Their movements were a testament to the rigorous training and trust instilled by Morgan's leadership. Suddenly, an alert blared, a thermal sensor detected unexpected movement near Team Alpha's path. Enemy patrols, more numerous than intelligence had indicated, were converging rapidly. "Morgan, we've got contact," whispered Lieutenant Harris over the comms. "Patrols closing in fast on our position." Morgan's mind raced, her training and experience guiding her through the chaos. "Hold your position. Use the terrain for cover. I'm rerouting an extraction point. Grid 7 Delta is compromised. New exfil at Grid 5 Bravo, 50 meters east of original." The team adapted instantly, moving with practiced precision to the new extraction point. Morgan coordinated aerial drone support to provide real-time surveillance, marking enemy movements and guiding the operators away from danger. Despite the unexpected threat, the teams pressed forward, neutralizing guards with silent efficiency. Morgan's tactical adjustments minimized exposure, and the mission's primary objective, disrupting the enemy's logistical hub, was achieved without casualties. As the teams converged on the extraction point, Morgan's voice was steady. "Prepare for immediate exfil. Maintain formation and cover each other." The extraction was tense, enemy reinforcements closed in faster than anticipated. But Morgan's foresight in planning alternate routes and maintaining communication channels ensured a successful withdrawal. Back aboard the USS Valor, the team gathered in the operations room, the adrenaline of the mission still palpable. Admiral Grant entered, his expression a mixture of relief and respect. "Lieutenant Commander Morgan," he began, "your leadership has proven decisive. The operation was executed flawlessly despite unforeseen challenges. Your ability to adapt under pressure saved lives and secured critical objectives." Morgan met his gaze evenly. "Thank you, Admiral. The team's skill and discipline made it possible. We were prepared for contingencies." Lieutenant Harris stepped forward, a note of admiration in his voice. "Your command turned what could have been a disaster into a success. We trust you." Morgan nodded, the weight of their words settling upon her. "Trust is earned in moments like these. I will continue to earn it." The debrief was thorough, analyzing every aspect of the mission. Lessons were documented, strategies refined, and the crew's morale bolstered by the success. In the quiet aftermath, Morgan reviewed the intel gathered during the operation, communications intercepted, supply lines disrupted, enemy movements exposed. The mission's success had shifted the balance in their favor. As dawn broke over the horizon, Morgan stood on the bridge, gazing into the rising sun. The battles ahead would be no less challenging, but the validation of her leadership and the trust of her team fortified her resolve. The USS Valor sailed onward, its crew united by shared purpose and the knowledge that under Morgan's command, they were ready to face whatever shadows awaited. The USS Valor's deck was illuminated by the soft glow of dawn, the horizon streaked with pinks and golds as the ship cut steadily through the calm sea. In the command center, Lieutenant Commander Morgan stood quietly, the weight of recent missions settling into a steady confidence. Around her, the crew moved with a renewed sense of purpose, the echoes of past doubts replaced by respect and camaraderie. Admiral Grant entered, his presence commanding yet measured. "Lieutenant Commander Morgan," he began, voice low but filled with genuine acknowledgement, "your leadership has not only altered the course of our operations but elevated the entire crew's spirit. Effective immediately, you are promoted to commander. Your call sign, Shadow Hawk, is now legendary among the ranks." Morgan's eyes met his, a faint smile touching her lips. "Thank you, Admiral. I am honored and ready to embrace the responsibilities ahead." The announcement rippled through the ship, whispered first, then spoken openly, Shadow Hawk, the strategist and warrior who had transcended skepticism to command respect and deliver results. Her promotion was more than a title, it was a testament to resilience, skill, and unwavering dedication. In the days that followed, Morgan took on her new role with deliberate focus. She balanced strategic planning with the mentorship of younger officers, her experience a beacon guiding those eager to learn. Admiral Grant became a mentor in turn, offering wisdom on navigating the complexities of higher command and the burdens it carried. One evening, as the USS Valor sailed under a canopy of stars, Morgan convened a meeting with her core team. "Our work is far from over," she addressed them, voice steady and inspiring. The missions ahead will test us in new ways. But together, with trust and determination, we will face every challenge. Lieutenant Harris nodded, a smile breaking through. With you leading, Commander, I have no doubt we'll succeed. Morgan's gaze swept the room, resting briefly on each member. Remember, our strength lies not just in tactics or technology, but in the bonds we forge. We fight not only for victory but for each other. The atmosphere was charged with renewed energy, a shared commitment that transcended orders and ranks. As the USS Valor charted its course toward future operations, Morgan reflected on her journey, from the tentative newcomer doubted by many to the celebrated commander known as Shadow Hawk. The path had been fraught with challenges, sacrifices, and moments of uncertainty, but each step had forged her into the leader she had become. In the quiet solitude of her quarters, Morgan allowed herself a moment of introspection. The battles fought, the lives touched, and the trust earned were the true measures of her success. Yet, she knew this was only the beginning. The call sign Shadow Hawk was no longer just a name whispered in corridors or across comms. It was a symbol of resilience, leadership, and the enduring spirit to fight for those who could not fight for themselves. As the USS Valor sailed on into the unknown, Commander Morgan stood ready, a strategist, a warrior, and a protector, prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead with unwavering resolve and a heart committed to justice.